Hello, I'm Brenda Martin with Inside Huntsville, and thanks for joining me today. As you know, this is an exciting time of year for families and friends, and there's all kinds of activities going on in and around Huntsville that you can participate in. Bart Williams, the Executive Director of EarlyWorks Family of Museums, is with me today to highlight the various events that not only will take place during this festive season, but throughout the year. Welcome, Bart, to our show.
Good morning. Nice to be here.
I'm excited because you've got a lot of information for our viewers. But before we get started, tell us a little bit about who Bart Williams is.
Oh, yeah. First off, I'll start with where I am now. I am, like you said, the Executive Director of the EarlyWorks Family of Museums. But prior to that, I spent time at the Space and Rocket Center as a marketing manager over there. Been in Huntsville here for 30 years. I'm an Army brat, so like many of us, our parents moved here and retired, and we stayed, and we call ourselves natives now.
Okay, that's great. Now, you've got a lot of background, obviously, in marketing.
Yeah.
If you started with the Space and Rocket Center. But what led you to this exciting area?
Well, it was really Space Camp that drove me to Huntsville. I came in and started managing Space Camp and then moved up through the ranks at the Space and Rocket Center until I got to the marketing department, and then really fell in love with marketing educational products. And when the opportunity for EarlyWorks came around, that was a new educational product, a hands-on product, and hands-on learning is so important for school kids. So I got involved. It was a natural fit.
Well, you provide a year of family activities all year round. And you've coined the phrase EarlyWorks Family of Museums. Why?
Well, we're not just one museum. That's the main reason. We're a group of museums that include the historic Huntsville Depot, Alabama Constitution Village, and the EarlyWorks Children's Museum, as well as the Humphreys Rogers House, which is a historic home. And all of these are related because they're history themed. So we thought, what a better way to describe who we are. We're a family of museums. We serve families. We are concerned with family well-being and family learning, families learning together. So it was a fantastic fit for us, and so that's why we've decided to call ourselves that.
Okay, so we want to go through each and every one of them, but let's be clear about something. Who operates these facilities and how are you funded?
Well, we are managed, I guess, or overseen by a board that is appointed by the city. So the mayor appoints a few of our board members and the city council appoints some board members. And that's our oversight board. That's who I, as executive director, report to. Our funding is primarily from the city. However, that's not the majority of our funding. The majority of and we do get some from the county, but our majority of our funding is we raise ourselves through admissions and field trips and other events, which we can talk about in a little while.
Right. Okay, well, let's talk about each one of them, and in doing so, remind us how each one of them benefit our community.
Sure.
Okay, the EarlyWorks Children's Museum. I counted some 17 areas of interest, starting with the Betty and Charles Grisham Theater. Tell us about that.
Yeah, EarlyWorks is just piled high with all types of activities, all of them history-based, and the museum was actually designed by educators, which was very intriguing to me when I came on board with the project. But early on in its construction and its design, educators were asked, what do we need to do to bring history to life in your classroom? How can we partner with your classroom? We certainly can't take the place of it. And basically what happened was a group of teachers we called the Storyline Committee came together and they handed us a textbook of Alabama history and said, make this come to life. And so those 17 areas that you talk about take in different aspects of Alabama history, Alabama industry, Alabama life, social climates, and things like that. So the theater is we use as an introductory, and there's a film that we produced that's an introductory film to the museum and to Alabama history that's hosted by Bo Jackson, of course,
Okay.
a great Alabamian.
Wonderful. So some of the areas, Native Americans, you've got a general store, you've got Alabama Bandstand. Tell us a little bit about those.
Yeah, those are somewhat self-descriptive. However, each of them teaches a different discipline that you might find in the classroom or any course of study. So and they're immersive. So in the general store or the courthouse or the bandstand or the Native American exhibit, the children actually get involved and in some cases actually go into the general store. They'll learn about bartering and trading and old ways of, we remind kids they didn't have Walmart back in the 1800s. So this is how things went. And your family would load up the wagon and go and get the provisions for an entire month, year, and trade because they may have not had currency at that time.
How about that? Yeah.
And the bandstand, we bring music into it, and the bandstand features Alabama music, music that was either written or made famous by Alabama artists and songwriters. And the kids actually push buttons of different instruments to play the music.
What about the storytelling courtyard?
Yeah, that's a really neat one because one of the other things that the teachers told us when we built the place was tie in technology. Now the storytelling courtyard, its real lesson is that before the written word, history was told passed down from family to family by the oral tradition of telling a story. And we can all remember, and maybe we can't remember it firsthand, but we've seen it in movies or you've heard of, Grandpa likes to tell that old story.
That's right.
So the technology piece of this, we have created an oak tree that is over 100 and something years old. He's seen all history, and he tells stories, and it's a robot. So it's animatronics that will tell stories to the children, and they tell old stories about Alabama history, about the Native Americans, about all the folks that moved and settled this great state.
How about that? Well, what about the courthouse and the log cabin?
Now, the courthouse is used to teach kids about government and about how we became a state. And in the courthouse, we also bring in technology through touchscreen presentations on the computers. And the kids can walk through, or kids, I say kids, any visitor can walk through by pushing and touching the screen the whole constitutional process, which happened, of course, here in Huntsville too. The log cabin, of course, it's an actual log cabin. You go into the log cabin and you learn what life was like in the pioneer days. And there's a touch screen in there as well. But we also have the old fireplace and toys, and the kids can take turns seeing what life was like and the chores they had to do as a pioneer family, and how they all lived basically in one room, and Mom and Pa slept down below, and the kids slept on a loft. And so it's about life in pioneer times.
Have you noticed the expressions of the children when they encounter these things? What do they?
It's really interesting because at first they think it's kind of foreign, it's kind of fantasy, and then when it finally clicks that, that's how it used to be done. Oh my! Yeah. And they're somewhat astonished that people did that, and I think then as they explore it more, they compare and contrast what we have now to the way things were then, and the lights really come on, and that's our reward when we see that happen.
That's true education there too.
Yeah, it really is.
You know.
And then they go home, and I fully imagine, because my kids came through on field trips when they were younger, and they would get home and they would want to explain to me that the difference in the old phone versus the new phone, and
Right. Oh, that's great. Let's talk about the Keel Boat. That to me is a fascinating.
It really is, and that boat, the Keel Boat there, was built correct by a master boatsman, and the story behind that is that the pioneers that came and first settled these lands, and truly throughout the South, they did it by the waterways. There was no highways, and we tell the kids you just didn't get on the interstate and drive somewhere. You had to, you either went over land or you packed up a boat and you went down the river. So many cities that we see that were early formed, they were along the waterways, and so the waterways are important to settling any area. And one means in which to do that was the keel boat. Families would save and scrimp to build a boat for themselves, a keel boat of some size, and actually load their family, all their possessions up on this boat and send it down and head down river or up river, whichever way they were going. Down river was a lot easier. And at some point they would shore the boat and use the lumber to build their first home. So that dismantled that boat. Now the boat was also used to trade goods up and down the river. In early days, the cotton went that way, and we teach a lot about the trade on the river and the lore of the river and how many people would live on the boat. And the kids actually, it's a little classroom, so the kids actually get on the boat, sit there.
How about that?
And learn all about how the boat was used to settle the area.
So exciting. One more area that I want you to touch on, and then I'll move on. Talk about the passages.
Passages is, it's our African American, I guess I would tribute or honor or at least heritage.
Yes.
And excuse me, it was actually, the centerpiece of this is a mural, and it was a mural done by local artist John Moore.
Oh, yes.
And John has done a lot of things around town, but we wanted to celebrate the African American as an immigrant to the South and to Alabama. And the centerpiece of John's mural, it shows the plight, so to speak, of the African American coming to this country as slaves, leaving a grand and proud place where they were from and being captured and brought here. But then it shows their progression all the way to the child of today and the future of Alabama. And it really, hidden in this are historical, heroic figures from the African American community. It's a fantastic mural. We're very proud of it.
Very proud of it. Yes, yes. It's something that everyone should see that. How about, now Alabama Constitution Village speaks to the birthplace of Alabama.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about
well,
that.
you know, we're really excited. Alabama Constitution Village was our first museum.
That was the first
It
one.
was
Okay.
in 1982. It's actually built on the site. There was an archaeological dig that was done to find the actual site and the foundations of the buildings that stood there in 1819 when Alabama became a state. In July of 1819, 44 delegates from the 22 counties in the Alabama Territory gathered in Huntsville to have the state, what would soon be Alabama, the state's first Constitutional Convention. They wrote the Constitution right there in downtown Huntsville. They printed it right there in downtown Huntsville. They all signed it, and it was sent off to Washington to be signed by the president. And so, in fact, all the actions that made Alabama a state happened here in Huntsville. And believe it or not, Huntsville was the capital of the state for a short time. So we celebrate that every day and talk about Alabama statehood and Alabama history at Constitution Village. It is a reconstruction of the buildings that were actually there.
Now tell me exactly where it's located.
It is right downtown on Gates Avenue.
On
So
Gates.
it's 1 block south of the Courthouse Square.
Okay. Let's talk
And sort of across the street, catty corner from the EarlyWorks Museum.
from the EarlyWorks. Okay. Let's talk about the historic Huntsville Depot.
Yeah. Now this is truly historic. This building is one of the oldest buildings. The historic depot is one of the oldest buildings in Huntsville, let alone in Madison County. Built in 1862. This building was captured during the Civil War by the Union soldiers because of its strategic placement on the rail line between Memphis and Charleston. And the Union soldiers came in and took that over with little fanfare. There wasn't much skirmish going on or anything, but they did hold that for a while. There is graffiti. Once again, architects came in, and during the late 70s, early 80s, during a renovation and peeling of some paint, there was some graffiti noticed on the walls. Well, they brought in some scholars, historic scholars, to look at that, found out that that graffiti was actually placed there or drawn there by Civil War soldiers that had been assigned to the depot or interned there as prisoners when they were in the transport from one place to another. And so today, and all that graffiti has been brought back to life. So today you can go visit, and on the 3rd and 2nd floor of the depot, you can see the graffiti that was actually written or drawn by the Civil War soldiers. So we handle a lot of Civil War history at the depot, as well as transportation history. There are a lot of stories and family histories that connect to the depot, where they saw loved ones leave, maybe granddad or your father or somebody left there to go to war, or maybe it was a happy occasion and they were coming home, or a family was visiting for the holidays. And until the 70s, there was passenger service through there. So it was certainly a way to come and go from Huntsville. So it's played a large role in Huntsville's story.
Thank you for that. You know, earlier you talked about how the museums are funded, which is obviously very important because you are in what I would call an event planning mode throughout the year.
Yeah, we are. We have probably 3 large categories of funding. Government funding, which is primarily made up of the city and the county. But then we also have admissions, and we have tourists and the school kids that come on field trips. That's still not enough to run all these museums. So we are privileged to be able to host events throughout the year. And at any time in the year, you can point and say, what event do you have going on?
Okay.
And we will have one going on.
Yes.
So right now, it's our Santa's Village.
There you
you said
go.
earlier, it's a festive time of the year.
Yes.
And this is the 14th year of Santa's Village.
Okay.
We are excited. This program has become truly a tradition for so many families throughout the Tennessee Valley. And it's at Constitution Village on Gates Avenue, like we said earlier, and it will open up the Friday after Thanksgiving, and it stays open every year until December 23rd.
23rd of December.
And Santa's Village is just an incredible tradition, and families have been coming for years and bringing their kids to see Santa, see the reindeer, decorate a cookie, see the snow, all the things that happen there. So much so, we have kids that came 14 years ago when we started, and perhaps they were 6 or 7, 8, 10 years old at that point. They're bringing their children back now.
How about that?
It's amazing to see them and hear their stories, and to have them remember that. But we do this event, Santa's Village, and then we very quickly move into the Whistle Stop Festival and Rocket City Barbecue weekend that we hold at the Depot on the 1st of May in order to do, these are all fundraising events, but we always try to tie great quality of life and uniqueness in for the community. And that's the first weekend in May. We're already working on that. It's held at the historic Huntsville Depot and the surrounding areas. It's a great time. It's one of the state's largest barbecue competitions. And it's even going to have a bigger profile this year because the State Tourism Department has decided that 2015 is going to be the year of Alabama barbecue.
Wow.
So all the barbecue festivals throughout the state are going to get stepped up a little bit because of this big promotion the state's doing.
So now that's going to be in May, the first weekend in May. I want to go back to Santa's Village just for a moment and indicate that it's open between 5 and 9 nightly.
Yeah, 5 and 9 nightly for families and individual visitors, but as an educational facility, we also offer field trips during the day for school kids. There'll probably be about 5,000 to 6,000 school kids coming as part of field trips. There'll be about 25,000 folks over the course of the time coming at night with their families. We really encourage folks to come early in the season because the crowds can get, big,
yeah. And it's just $5 per person.
It's $5 a person, and once you get in, you really, you get cookies, you can get hot chocolate, you can get all the stuff you need.
Yes. Now, one other very important event, and that is the unveiling of the Patriot Mosaic. Now, that just happened.
It did.
And share that.
It's fairly new. I mean, it just happened on Veterans Day. We just unveiled our second. So this is only the second year we've been doing this. We had been asked and had received some funding from the Gothic Guild here in Huntsville to build a gateway from the depot property to the Veterans Memorial, which is just adjacent to the depot. So we built a gateway and an educational pathway that consists of kiosks. And we connected the memorial through this educational pathway as well, and this gateway because of the Gothic Guild. So the Memorial Foundation built the kiosks, we connected, and now we take school kids between that. So all that was happening, and we said to ourselves, you know, one thing we like to do in the museum business is put a face. The Memorial's done an excellent job getting names on bricks and really honoring all of the vets that wanted to be honored. And we thought even more powerful is put a face with a story. And so we came up with this Patriot Mosaic idea in which this happened last year is when we first did it, in which we collected from local folks 1,296 pictures of their veterans.
Yes,
and their
and my
loved
husband,
ones.
was included in that this year.
And
thank you very much.
And we have committed ourselves for 10 years, so we finished 2 of them, so 8 more to go, to create a mosaic and unveil it each Veterans Day for the next 8 years. So when we're done, we'll have 10 of these in a series. It's an incredible tribute. I really encourage anyone to just go see it. It's free to walk in and go see the mosaic and then go on and see the memorial and really get a sense of Huntsville's commitment to making sure, or the Valley's commitment to making sure that this is a free nation. We have so many fantastic veterans here. And so we really encourage that. And people, like you said, your husband's image is on the mosaic this year. And as people are finding out about this, they want to know how to do it, how to get their grandfather, their wife, their daughter or son. And there is visionsofvets.com in which any day you want, you can go there and check it out, and you can upload a photo, or you can bring a photo to us at EarlyWorks. We'll help you scan it in, and it will be on the next one. And so we've already got people wanting to do that this year.
Fabulous, fabulous. Want to talk, our time is getting short, but want to talk a little bit about the membership.
Yeah.
That's important.
It's truly the way to enjoy the museums all year round. Like any membership program at museums that people might be familiar with, it's unlimited admission to the museum, and you buy different levels. What makes us unique is you buy one membership and all 3 of our museums that are open daily, you have access to. And so you can enjoy those at any time. Plus a variety of other discounts. One thing that people always don't realize is that we also operate the roundhouse at the depot, and it's an event building, and a lot of wedding receptions and parties and business engagements there, as well as there's the grand hall, the ballroom at EarlyWorks. And both of these, as members are offered discounts to those things, and birthday parties and all types of different ideas and gift shop discounts and things like that. The membership is really a good deal.
So much to talk about. I wanted you to talk about, I'm going to obviously have to have you back again soon, but can you talk a little bit about the Bicentennial activity that's coming up soon? Now, I'm going to have you on because that's an entire show in itself, but if you give us a little information.
It really is an entire show in itself, and I don't know all the details yet. What I do know is, as I said earlier, Huntsville's where we became a state.
Yes.
Huntsville and Madison County were chosen at the time of the state constitution because we were the most progressive region, city, county in the entire territory. And we still are today.
How about that? Isn't that,
isn't
that's
that amazing?
Fabulous.
On so many levels.
Yes.
And so we know, and there's a commission that was been organized by the state legislature. There's a commission that is organizing activities to commemorate the Bicentennial and the 200, not just the day we became a state, but the whole 200 years since and the future. So there's going to be a lot of activities that are being announced, and when I know more of those, I'd love to come back and talk to you about them, Brenda. We do know that a lot of activity, if not all, will focus on Madison County, and just because of who we are at Constitution Village, on downtown Huntsville, during the summer of 2019. So in
2019.
2019, mark your calendars now, there'll be a big birthday celebration to say the least.
That's right. That's just around the corner. It's, like you said earlier, it's like the Olympics coming to Huntsville.
You know, it very well could be. I mean, the whole state's attention will be pointed at Huntsville and Madison County, and we have really got to be ready.
Yes.
Just like the world's attention is pointed towards Rio for the Olympics in a couple summers, it's going to happen here. Maybe not the same level, but it's going to happen here. There'll be visitors coming from all over and a lot of media attention. We have to be ready, and we need to have our venues ready, so to speak, and that's what we're working towards.
And you're already planning.
Yeah,
you're already planning.
We're thinking a lot about it.
That's for sure. Well, Bart, thank you so much for taking the time. What I know is a very busy day for you. I think you've been up quite early already, but thanks for coming up and sharing all this information with us. I also want to thank you for your leadership. I mean, you wear a big hat. There's a lot of activities going on over there in the museums, and we've got 180,000 some odd people in this city, and as you heard yesterday, the mayor talking about how progressive we are and all the great things that are happening in this city during his State of the City address. You're a part of that quality of life that he talked about.
Well, you know, we are, but we don't do it alone.
No.
And there are fantastic partners in this city. Everything. I mean,
And a lot of volunteers you have.
and a lot of volunteers. We have countless volunteers. We're always looking for more.
Thank goodness you have.
And it's a fantastic community to do work in and to serve. And between the city and all the departments, the school system, and all the corporate partners we have, that's how we get it done.
Sure, sure. Well, again, thank you so much for your leadership, and thank you for coming here today.
It's been
I'll
my
have
pleasure.
you back on real soon, okay? And well, that's our show for today, and thank you for joining us on Inside Huntsville. I'm Brenda Martin. Make this day a great one.